Hello, welcome to Mr. Mount Homestead. My name is Leanne, and today we'll be canning some potatoes. They are red potatoes, what we got from the Mennonites. Um, and then Phil is washing them, and then I'm going to cut them with the food processor. I'm going to cube them. We're going to soak them overnight, rinse it off in the morning again, and can them tomorrow. So this is just what we do here, just a little bit of scrubbing with the brush. And then I'll show you how I process with the food processor. Okay, and this is the food processor. We got a Breville here. It's the big one, the cut and cube gizmo. So this is, you just put your potatoes in there, and it goes into that, and it chops it into cubes. We just realized that we misplaced the little flapper that turns underneath to distribute evenly on the side, but I guess we're gonna have to try without it and see what happens. I may just have to empty it more often because it doesn't, I don't know if you can see here, it all stays on this side. I don't have the little gizmo to move them around. But that's okay. Now I'm missing my thing, and it's got this little neat attachment here. You just put that like this, and you put it on the holes, and he gets the rest of them. Sometimes you just need to use a little bit of muscle. And then I just put them in cold water. I'm going to put just a tiny bit of vinegar in there. It helps from the acidity from turning brown, oxidating. Okay, so we did do all the 30-pound bag of potatoes. It pretty much filled this 22 quart roaster. I'm not using the roaster to cook the potatoes or anything. This is just like the biggest thing we have to soak them in. So we're just going to rinse the water to take some starch out of there. And then we'll let it, I'm going to add a little bit of vinegar to keep it from turning oxidating. And we'll leave it overnight. And tomorrow we'll be back and we'll can the potatoes. It's raw pack. I pack them with water. I'm always going to try to do dry canning potatoes. It sounds really delicious. However, you need to wash the potatoes and I think it's cook the potatoes and then spread them out to dry or something. Anyway, I cannot do that. We don't have enough space big enough to do that here, and it would take way too much time to do. So I'm just going to do like I usually do, can my potatoes with water. Apparently, it tastes better if you raw pack. If you want to do that, there's some videos out there to. I can put a link to a good one that I found. However, like I said, it's just too much work for me, and we don't have the space to do that. So anyway, we'll just rinse that off, add some more cold water and a little bit of vinegar, and we'll let it sit until tomorrow morning, and we'll start canning, and we'll be back. See you then.
Okay, this is the next morning and we're back. So we just rinsed the potatoes again and took some water out. Not all of it because it's too big, it's hard to do. And put some more of fresh water and a little bit more vinegar in there. I did have it a bit too full last night, so some of the potatoes start to oxidizing a bit because they were not covered underwater with the vinegar. So that's what happens. You just get darker and not so great looking. So I took the worst of them out, and but it should be fine for canning. So what we're gonna do is I'm doing the cold pack method this time because my potatoes are cold or room temperature. So I'm just gonna put room temperature water in there and room temperature water in my canner. So when everything is at the same temperature, go up at the same time, you're still fine. If you want to hot pack everything, then everything needs to be hot, like your product, your water, your jars, and your canner. So we're doing the cold pack. It'll take a bit longer to bring to temperature, but to me it's a lot less work, and I like less work. Okay, so all I do is fill the jars. I don't know if you can see that here. And where's my little thingy? And then you want to pack them a little bit, not too tight. And I believe you want to leave 1 inch headspace, which is usually just underneath the lower rim here. In this canner I have a 921 All-American canner. You can put, I believe it's 20 pint jars in it. However, here in Canada we have 500 millimeters and 1 liter jars, which they are a bit bigger than the pint. So it doesn't make any difference in the quarts. I can put 7 quarts, same thing as 7 1 liter jars in my canner. However, I can only put 18 pint jar, which is 500 millimeter Canadian. There's only 8 per level that it takes, or I mean 9, sorry. And the wide mouth I can put 8. So, but this regular mouth I put only 9 in them, which I believe that when you have pint jar, like real pint size jars, you can put more in there. You can put 10 per level, but that's okay. So I'll just keep on filling these, and I'll be back to show you the rest of the process. Okay, this is the jar number 9. So we just debubble a little bit. I don't always debubble. All it does is it depends what you're canning. Like these cubes of potatoes like this, that usually you need to debubble, because if you look, I had a 1 inch headspace, but since I debubble it, you get less water in there. So I'm just going to add tiny bit of water. Maybe not too much. Until you get 1 inch headspace. So now all I'm going to do is wipe the rims. I always do it in vinegar. It's best to do in vinegar if you have something sticky with sugar or anything like that in, like jams and all. I just have the habit to always do it with vinegar, no matter what. So I find like the water can have minerals and stuff like that and stick on the rims. But that's me. So 1 inch headspace. And then I'm putting my lids on. And the rims. Finger tight is just tight, but don't crank it tight. Just, I find that it doesn't make a lot of difference. A lot of time I take them out of the canner and the rings are completely loose and it's still sealed. So too tight, I used to do some too tight before, and then when they get out of the canner, they just not so easy to unscrew. So anyway, we'll just put this in the canner. I do not need my clamps because obviously it's all at room temperature. And when everything is at room temperature, you're starting at everything at the same temperature, and it will do just fine. You run into problems if you have cold jars or cold product with your water that is really hot in there. Then everything on the outside gets warmer, hotter, a lot quicker than your products, and this is when you can end up with a bit of trouble. And if you use cold jar in hot water, then you end up with a jar that can crack and break too. If you ever had jars going in the freezer before, I don't recommend to use them in a high pressure canner because most likely they will break. I learned that the hard way, but now I got a separate section where I keep jars that they've been previously in the freezer, and I make sure that they're not near my canning jars. So then that works. So now I'm just going to put the lid on here, and we'll do for the next 9 jars, and we'll be back when this is ready to rock. See you in a bit. Okay, I did the rest of the jars. Oops, sorry about that. And anyway, I should mention too here that I keep the skin on. That's my choice. I know they recommend not to. Obviously, you can do the exact same thing except peel your potatoes before you cut them up. And like obviously. And then do the same process. I choose not to peel my potatoes. That's my choice. My kitchen, my rules, as I usually say. And but that's pretty much it. So I'm gonna I've got 19 jars in there. Sorry, 18 jars. And I'm gonna put I got about 1.5 inch of water, room temperature water, on the bottom of the canner. Now with this one, with the All-American, you don't have a rubber seal or anything like that. So, but the only thing is you have to make sure that all your sides are about the same distance between the lid and the canner, and you use both things at the same time on the opposite side, and you just tighten a little bit, not too much. And look if it's still about the same size, same height. You don't have to measure in millimeters, obviously, but, and then after you have them all, then you tighten them as tight as you can. And here with our elevation here, we're at, I believe 16 or 1700 feet above sea level. So we need like 15 pounds of pressure. So this gizmo comes with all three. I don't know why the 5 is there, never used it, but there's 10-pound pressure and there's 15-pound pressure. So I'm gonna turn this element on, and I'm gonna wait until it's not gonna build pressure yet because you don't have the weighted gauge. It's gonna build a little bit of pressure, but then when you see this venting for about anywhere between 5 and 10 minutes, and then you put your weight gauge on. Then when you put this on, then after that you'll see the pressure coming up. Once the pressure gets up at 15 pounds of pressure, it should start to jiggle. And once it starts to jiggle, this is when you put your timer on for whatever that you need in there. Like these potatoes, pint jar, I believe is 35 minutes. So this is when I start to count down at 15 minutes, 35 minutes, and depending on what you're canning in there. But you wait until this, you see a lot of steam coming out, then you start counting 10 minutes. Me, I usually do between anywhere after 5 minutes, and it's good. I really don't see the point, like once it's not going to build any more pressure. So anyway, when it's been venting for quite a while, obviously there's enough heat in there to start building the pressure once you put this thing on. So we're not gonna get bored here and just look at the temperature going up and all that, but we'll be back as soon as it starts to steam and before we put this thing on. So stick around. Okay, we're back. So now this thing is being steaming for about 10 minutes. I don't know if you can see it, but there's pretty heavy steam. So all you have to do is to put this on a 15-pound pressure for here. If you're in a lower elevation, you go for 10. And you just put this on. Now we wait until the pressure gets up to 15 pounds per pressure. Never rely just on the gauge though, because they're not always accurate. Although this one is pretty good yet, but it's a brand new one. I just bought that last year. So, and then that should start to jiggle. And you want it to jiggle about between 2 and 4 times per minute. You don't want it to constantly jiggle, but we'll be back when it starts anyway, and we'll go from there. Stick around. Okay, it just started to jiggle again. So see, when it's jiggling steady like this, that's a bit too much. So what I do is I lower the my burner by 1 number. Like it was on max, I just put it on 9. I'm gonna wait a little bit. And every stove will be different. You don't want to put it all the way down to medium again, because it may start losing some pressure, because it's going to be, the element will be off for quite a while, and that might lose too much pressure. So you just want to do a little bit at a time. And once it's, if it doesn't slow down after a while, I'll keep on lowering it. And oh yeah, this is when you put your timer on. So I'm just going to put my timer on for 35 minutes. See, it slowed down a little bit. And once it starts to go again, I'll lower it and then one more notch. So I do also have a Presto. It's in the basement. It's a good backup if you ask, or if I one day I have a bigger burner outside to use, maybe I'll do that. There's also the trick that with the Presto, to use a Presto outside, I'm not sure it's a good idea because the aluminum, the walls are thin, and that's why it says right in the manual not to have it anywhere where there's drafts, because the drafts will change you can possibly change the pressure in there. So, but with the All American canner, I follow one of them, not one of them, I think she's the only one that I know. She's got a great YouTube channel. She's a former Mennonite, and she's been using All American canners for a long time, and she used them outside all the time. So, but the difference with the All Americans is they're way heavier, and the walls are thicker. So even a little bit of draft or whatever, I wouldn't do that outside in Canadian winter for sure. But in the summertime, I wouldn't have no problem using that outside. So one day I'm gonna have like a 3 burner, hopefully, a 3 burner propane heater that I can put out on the deck and do my canning outside instead of here, because I can all year long. We buy the beans, chickpeas, white beans, and things like that. We buy them organic, dry, in bulk, in 10 kg bag, 20 pound or 15 pound bag, whatever, and store them in pails, in the food grade pails in the basement, and I can them as we go. So we use quite a bit of beans and chickpeas. So this is it's cheaper way to do it. And everything we try to do is a cheaper way to do it. That's with the price of food today, it's a really good way to go. Plus, there's also the concern of all the linings inside the cans, the store-bought cans. I know most of them, they say PBF or PB something free. However, they just take that chemical out. They put another chemical in that is slightly different, the chemistry in it, and put it a new name and say that's it. It's PBA free, but God knows what else you have in there. So I like my canning. I know exactly what's in there. It's just glass jar and the lid, and you know exactly what you put in it. You're the one that's canning it. So if you don't want extra salt, if you don't want extra preservatives or anything like that, that's my way to go. So see, it's starting again. So I'll keep doing that until I get to about just at medium. Just a little bit under 6 for this stove, but every stove will be different. So then we'll just let it go, and when the 35 minutes is done, we'll turn this off and let it depressurize completely, and we'll be back then. Stick around. Okay, we're back, and the canner is stopped. The depressurized. It's already down to 0. I'm gonna take this off. You may have a tiny little bit of woof, but that's okay. So now I'm just gonna loose them up. And here you want to be a little careful. Always make sure that vapor in there. It's extremely hot, so you want to make sure you don't want to have that on your face. So I lift it up just a little bit to escape some of the heat, so you don't have too much drastic um, temperature change. Well, you still have some, but you try to minimize it a little bit. So I just do that, and I usually wait a couple minutes, and then I take the lid completely off. And what you want to do, you want to put it on a counter surface. Always put a towel or something so it's not directly on cold hard surface. And you just put them all on the counter where they're not going to be disturbed for until the next morning. So tomorrow morning you leave the rings on and everything, and then in the morning I tap them all, and I know right away if they are sealed or not. When they're not sealed, you hear the empty sound when you tap on the lid. So if you don't hear that empty sound, then you know that they all sealed. So I'm usually pretty good with the rate. I get the occasional one that does not seal, but for the most part they usually do. And this is the end result. It's pretty. So there'll be plenty of potatoes, and I guess I'll do the rest of it in quart jars, because I just realized I don't have many of the pint jars left. So it's just, it'll take me longer. I'm gonna have at least 2 more batches minimum to do today before I end my canning day today, so it's gonna be a long day. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video, and give me a thumbs up if you did. And if you have any questions or anything, any concerns, or just put it on the comments below, and I'll do my best to respond as soon as possible. So thank you for watching, and have a great day. See you again.